G'day, Stu from UAVfutures here, and today we're going to be checking out this bad boy right here. This is the Shuriken X1 from Holybro. Now, big shout out to Holybro for sponsoring this episode and sending me one of these, because I know these things have just come out, so I am super excited to get my hands on one of these. From the other reviews I've seen, they look very, very cool. So what we're going to be doing, we're going to be sticking it on the bench, giving it a full breakdown, full rundown and a review, and then we'll take it out to the field and give it a bit of a thrashing. Anyway, let's get started. Rightio, so here it is on the bench, and look, it does come nicely packed in a box with some instructions and some little spares and things like that, but I want to jump straight in and talk about the quad itself, because it is a very, very cool racing quad. So that's what we're going to be doing, when we'll probably start working our way from the outside in, and we'll have a look at all the things that this quad can do and look at the specs and those sorts of things. Then we'll have a look at some of the spares and take it out and give it a bit of a flight. Now, I've taken the antenna off so we can see a little bit better, but the first thing I want to point out is its shape. So it's in the true X configuration. So if it's a true X, what that actually means is the distance between these two motors should be the same between the front and the back. So let's find out what that is. So that doesn't really help. Let's just quickly measure it on my chopstick and find out just how close it is going to be. Alrighty, so yeah, definitely within 1 or 2 millimeters, as far as this awesome measuring tool can be, you can see that this is in a true X configuration. And what that means is it's probably going to be very, very, I guess, acrobatic when it's in the air. It's going to be fantastic for some acro moves. And the frame is all carbon fiber, so we do have some very, very solid arms on here, so we should probably measure those as well, while we've got these little calipers out, so zero that in. The arms are coming in at, I'd say, the arms are coming in at 4 millimeters right there, so it should be very, very tough in crashes. But something else I want to point out, just while we're looking at the frame, look at the profile. I mean, look how short that is. Look how, like, there is hardly any, I guess that is hardly taking up any space at all. That's even a thinner profile than the Impulse RC Helix, so that is extremely shrunk down. And this thing should be a weapon when it's slicing through the air. Now, the really cool thing about this is that it all comes with this frame and all the components. It comes ready to fly, so it is so easy, or bind and fly, I should say. It comes ready just to bind up to your radar. You don't have to do any soldering or anything like that. All you've got to do is press a few buttons, and this thing is going to be up and flying in no time. The Shurikens are some of the easiest quads I have ever set up, so the time between box and flight is extremely small, which is fantastic. Right now, so let's start on the outside and have a bit of a rundown and review of the actual components we have. So right out here on the outside, we have our motors, and this is our first real indication that this is a very special quad, because these are actually the Tiger motors, the F40s, and then the F42s or the F40IIs, however you want to actually say this. And these are, I think they're the 22 size motors and 2600 kV. So that's great. That's going to be offering a ton of punch, I guess, if we have the right battery with this, because that 2600 kV is going to be sucking down a fair bit of juice, so you do have to make sure you have the right battery to go with the quad. But that is going to be fantastic at spinning this 5-inch prop. Now, these motors alone, I think they're like some of the best motors you can actually buy. So these F40s, I know a lot of people fly with them and they absolutely love them. So they are some awesome motors right there. On the prop here, that's a bad pun. On the top here, we actually have these props right here, and these are the HQ 5040s. Now, these are a very popular prop, and I guess we'll talk about these a little bit. They're going to offer a great mixture between agility, performance, and top speed and thrust, and also a little bit of efficiency. So I think the 5040 tri-blade ones with the tapered end are some of the best props that you can get. I know that's what I use all the time, but one thing I don't like, I'm not actually a big fan of the HQ prop. Look, and you actually do get some spares, and I've taken this thing out and I've given it a few tests, and something I don't actually like is these props. While they are fantastic and they do offer some of the best, they are the best props, I think, for flying out there. If you have some crashes, they're going to break very, very easily. So there's a lot more durable props out there, which I think might be a little bit better. I know Mr. Steel loves these props, but personally for me, I like something like maybe the Dow 5040 tri-blades or something like that. And I'm not sponsored by Dow or anything like that. I have to pay for all my own props. But I just think that these props here, they're a little bit more breakable. And if you're buying a bind and fly racer, you're probably wanting something that's going to be a little bit more crash resistant. This whole frame is very crash resistant except for the props, because you will find yourself breaking more props than you sort of need to if you're using these HQ props. But at least you get one spare set, but you could always get more, or give us some more durable ones. Now moving towards the middle, we have some really cool ESCs here. Now these are 30 amp to 40 amp burst rating ESCs, and they are BLHeli-S. So they'll be able to run multi-shot, which will be great. So you're going to get some fantastic ESC, I guess, performance right here. And personally for me, BLHeli-S is definitely the way to go, and most quads nowadays are coming out with that. But that's going to be some fantastic performance, especially when coupled with these motors. So it's going to be an absolute gun when you take it out and fly it. And then moving forward towards the inside of the frame, I'm going to talk about this little outside part just here in the pod and stuff, because I want to save this fantastic bit till last. So we'll talk about the board last, but what we actually have right here, this is your little top pod, and look how well this actually fits your little GoPro sessions holder or something like that. So if that sits in here, look how nice that is. Look at that profile. Look how good that is. So that's going to be fantastic if you do want to actually do some filming. And it's still really, really small, so I can't get over just how small that stack is. Inside here, we have this is like I don't know if it's a Sony, I definitely know it's a Sony Superhad sensor in here, so a CCD camera. And that's got a 2.5 lens on there, which is very, very interesting, because I know a lot of people have sort of been switching to that GoPro style of lens, and I must say that this thing looks fantastic. It's a really good mix between that wide lens of 2.1 and the 2.8, which is what I standardly fly with. But yeah, I really think 2.5 is definitely the way to go. It gives you a really nice mix of sort of seeing a lot of surroundings and still being focused in the middle and not feeling too fish-eyed. But one thing to note, the current configuration that mine was sent in, the camera can point up to 70 degrees. Look at that, it's almost pointing directly up. So that is absolutely insane. And I think if you press it all the way down, it goes down to 45. So if you do want to, which is like crazy speeds, I think I was flying with it pressed down to its lowest in this configuration. If you want some lower angles, there's a different little hole up here which you need to take your camera out and put it in just here. Personally, I think what they need to do is put this in the other configuration. So at the moment, this is set up for like a madman. I don't know anybody who's going to fly a ready-to-fly racer out of the box and go like this. If you're going to be putting your camera angle up this high, you're probably going to be building your own quadcopter anyway. So really, I like the option that it can do that, but really for me, I think it probably should go in the other way and be in the more beginner-friendly mode when you get it out of the box. But it's an easy fix to change, and it's probably only going to take you 5 minutes anyway. Now, just towards the back here, we have something pretty cool. So this has a full XSR in here, so that you can actually choose what sort of one's going to come to bind with your radio, which is what I really, really like. I love how easy this thing is to set up and bind, because all you have to do, you plug your battery in and hold down your bind button, which is just here. Hold down your bind button, and you don't have to push anything inside there or access the receiver whatsoever. All you have to do is press this little bind button right here, and that's going to bind up straight to your Taurinus. So again, so simple to set up and get flying. Now on the side here, you do have an Sma Antenna Adapter, and that's where you get this circular polarized Sma antenna. And I've got to say, I don't know how strong this is going to be in here. Like, the antenna looks fantastic. This thing looks bulletproof, and I love this dome on here. There's no way you're going to be breaking that in a hurry. But just underneath here, I do wonder, do you need to secure this down? If there was a little part that came out and you could actually zip tie this antenna to take some of the stress off this SMA connector, because the last thing I want to do is snap this off. Now, you do get some spares to sort of replace this little part in here, and it does have a bit of a funny connection right here. But personally for me, yeah, I do wish it just had that little part you could zip tie it to, just to make it that little bit more, I guess, crash resistant. Now towards the back, we have another really, really cool feature. So this is where your USB port is. You can plug that in, you can do a ton of stuff. But these two buttons just above it, they are so easy to set up your channel and your power level. So I'm going to show you that now, show you some examples. Alrighty, so I'm just going to plug it in now because I want to show you some, excuse the beeps and all those sort of business. I want to show you some really cool features that hopefully you guys can see. It might be a little bit out of focus, but right here, I love how it has a a two-digit display to show you not only what channel you're on, but also what band you're on. So you can change your channel simply by pressing this button, and then by pressing some of the others, you get a whole bunch of options. So here you can change, I think 60 stands for 600 milliwatts. You can change it between, I think it's 25, 200, or 600 milliwatts, and you can also go through and change the band if you need to as well. So a very, very cool feature right here. Because if you're out of the races and someone's like, hey, I'm on band, whatever, or they give you what channel, you don't want to be opening your dip switches and sort of staring around. I love how you can see it straight here. It makes it very, very easy to do it in the field and get flying with some friends. Alrighty, and then that probably brings me to my favorite feature, and this is this board right here. Now, this is kind of hard to believe. This is your PDB, your flight controller, your OSD, and your VTX all in one tiny little pod. So, all in one tiny little board, I should say. So that's what allows this thing to be such an extremely low profile sort of quad. Look at that. Look how, if you take out at the antenna, that thing has barely any height at all. So it is going to be absolutely slicing through the air. Now in here, this is rocking an F3 board, which is great, and it already comes preloaded with Betaflight, which is fantastic. I know in some of the past, some of the Shurikens all came out with clean flight on there, but it's great to see Holybro keeping up with the trends in the hobby and really putting Betaflight on here, because as I've said in some of my other reviews, it's Betaflight or go home. So great to see that it comes preloaded with Betaflight. The OSD in here is just like the Minim OSD, and I'll show you some DVR of a recording of this thing flying around, but that tells you like your battery voltage. You can set it up for your RSSI, and it also tells you your flight timer. So pretty much the critical things when you're actually flying around to look after your LiPo. And I love it how the features just relate to what we actually need in mini quad racing. You don't have any of the other garbage on there. And of course, it's also got the VTX we spoke in there, so a 40 channel VTX that you can actually switch its power. So a ton of features. This is probably one of the most powerful boards I have ever seen, and it really excites me for the hobby as well, how it's built in for a PDB. It really excites me thinking in the future, just how small can we get these things. So we're going to be seeing, I think, some big improvements to come in the next sort of couple of years, but I think this is a fantastic step in the right direction. Flipping this over, you actually, so I'm going to take the antenna off here so we can see a little bit better. Alright, flipping it over, we can see how the frame is actually made. So you can see it's made of 4 separate arms right here, and those arms are sandwiched between 2 carbon plates. Now, something I originally thought, and I wonder if you guys can see this, see if I can get this into focus. Hang on one second. We want to be about here, see if this will... There we go. So we've autofocused now, and you can actually see you have your PDB on the top here. And normally I don't like boards that are used, or frames that use the PDB for a little bit of structural integrity. But underneath that, we actually have a second plate, which is what is being used to sandwich the arms together. So I love how they've actually thought they don't want to use the PDB as a structural design, and they've put a different plate on here to make sure that the arms are nice and secure. So that's fantastic, because that's going to relieve a lot of stress off our PDB. Now you do have this little space here to hold your battery in, and then you have this nice little cool addition. So this comes ready for your battery to hop in just here. I'll grab one of these batteries actually, and you can see when your battery's inside here, put this in here, velcro it up, it's going to have, because a lot of people don't, excuse that battery charger, a lot of people don't having batteries underneath when they're flying around because they think they might damage it when it hits the ground. But this thing, it's got a nice little piece of carbon in here which securely holds your battery. A great little improvement might be if this thing was rubberized on the inside as well, so it could have that rubber from both sides. I think that'd be fantastic. And then of course you just hook it up to your XT60 connector on this end right here. Now on the box, look, I don't know if this is correct, because it can take from 7 to 42 volts, which seems absolutely ridiculous, and I wonder if they do mean 24. That might be a little bit of a typo or something just there. But yeah, I'm probably going to be, I'd recommend to fly this thing around on 4S, because it does feel like it's made for 4S, and it does feel like a rocket when you're flying it on 4S. Now I do apologize that mine looks a little bit dirty, but I have put through a ton of batteries through this thing. I guess I've been having so much fun with it. A little bit of a story, I guess, or a backstory about something that I sort of speaks for how good this thing is. I took this thing out the other day, and I probably had 30 batteries with me, but I also took the brand new Impulse RC Helix, which was amazing. But before I flew the Helix, I actually flew this thing, and there was for a little while a part of me that just wanted to keep flying this because I was having such a good time with it, and it felt so good out of the box that I was like, oh, should I just keep flying this? But I did have to test the Helix, which is probably the nicest quad I have ever flown. But that just is a bit of a testament to this, that this thing was so nice to fly, I was almost going to keep flying this instead of taking over and maidening my Helix. It's a very, very nice little package here, a really cool little racing quad that you can just take out of the box, get set up, and you are ready to rock and roll. Now, one thing that makes this quad amazing is just how much this thing weighs. So I'm going to put it on the scales here, and I'd like you to take your guesses, or if you've got a quad at home, think how much your racing quad weighs with some 2600 kV motors and rocking some 5-inch props with an OSD and all that good stuff in here. 322 grams. Are you kidding me? That is... Oh, we better put our antenna on. That'll weigh a little bit because it is a... So let's say 340 grams. So for a ready-to-fly racer, that's one of the lightest I have ever seen. Now, just as a bit of a comparison, I've got my Martian frame here, which I fly all the time, and you can see how dirty that is. But that is coming in at 384 grams. I guess it does have the little GoPro part on here. So let's weigh this thing with the antenna and with the GoPro. So there we go, 351 grams. This thing is significantly lighter than my Martian. It's absolutely crazy, and I think that's what gives it its fantastic flight performance, because not only does it have top-notch components, some of the best components you can actually buy, it's really well designed, and it has probably one of the best form factors I have ever seen, especially if you have a GoPro session. So if you want to put your sessions in here, I know I did my recording with a GoPro Polaroid, so because I don't actually have a sessions, but my Polaroid fitted in here, but it was a little bit loose because that's a little bit smaller than the sessions. But this thing is making me want to get one of these purely for filming purposes. Anyway, what we'll do, we'll take it down to the field and we'll check out some of the flight footage of this thing flying around, and we can find out just why this thing is so awesome. Well, they're chasing each other. Who's going to go through the gate? Oh, not Trevor, he's skipping him. Yeah, just the first one. Rightio, alright, so I'm down here and pretty much I've taken a ton of quads down, but something I am super excited about, we're down here and we are flying the Shuriken X1. I've put a couple little mods on and changed the props over, but this thing is ripper. It is absolutely amazing for like something you can take out of the box and get flying within like 10 minutes. This is a sick quad, so let's jump to some flight footage because I know you guys are going to love this. Whoop whoop! Radio, so here we go, this is it flying around, and I just want to apologise for that little red you can see on either side there. That's because this mount is actually designed for a GoPro sessions, and I'm actually flying with the Polaroid Cube, so that's what I'm using in here, which is a little bit smaller, so that means it moves around a little bit. So the footage would probably be even more stable if you had an actual GoPro. So you can see here plenty of power, and very smooth. I really want people just to focus on just how good the motors sound. So in those punch outs or full throttle things like right here, it is rock solid, no oscillations, very smooth, and it's got plenty of power as well, very fast. Now in terms of acro, I guess, and the moves that you're going to be doing, it felt very responsive, very easy to flip. You can see that nice little flip there. Felt like it was in control the whole time, and I love whatever default rates or whatever they're rocking on here. It just feels fantastic to pick up and fly, which is great of a quad that comes straight out of the box. Feels so good, you can have some confidence in it and just put some batteries through it, not worry about tuning, not worry about any of that stuff, and just focus on your flying. And this is a really pleasurable flying experience. So if you're after, I guess, like an awesome quad that you can take down to the races, also do some good acro with and do a bit of filming, I definitely think that this one, you're going to have a lot of fun with the X1. I know I'm going to be bringing it with me everywhere I go. It's definitely going to be joining my permanent lineup. Nice little crash there, hitting that. So I've just given Trev a bit of a go of the X1 because he's flown quite a few pods actually. They're his favourite kind of style. So let's get what he thinks about when he's flying it around.
This is so smooth, very smooth in fact.
So this is straight out of the box. This is like the tune that I didn't change anything. What about some power? Now this is on 3S, but give it a blip and just see how it feels. Okay, that's pretty quick.
It's quicker, right? That is awesome.
What about in terms of like video reception? Now this is just on this is on its standard stock antenna, whatever comes with it. I haven't changed any of that.
No, it's great video, nice colours.
Any blackouts or blips or anything like that?
No, not even if you give it power, none at all. Probably if you go around the building we might get one, but
yeah, do it. See what happens. All right, so Trev's going behind that building over there.
Just a blip, that's nothing. Still well and truly flyable.
So you like it? Give me a final couple of one sentence or some adjectives.
It's fucking great.
Alright, I'll probably blip that, but yeah, I think Trev liked that one.
So there it is, there's my review of the Shuriken X1, and I gotta say, I am so impressed with everything that's on here, like just how small that stack is and that flight controller, the awesome ESCs, the incredible motors, and just the form factor. I mean, I know we spoke about it before, but it is a really, really good ready-to-fly racer. And what's better, it handles fantastic when it's outside. So I think this is a really exciting time in the hobby when we're starting to see some quads from a whole bunch of different players out there that are really, really awesome, that actually, you can actually pick some of these up and win, I guess, at your local races. Anyway, I'm going to leave you guys with some more flight footage of this thing zipping around, but subscribe for more FPV-related content, and as always, happy flying!